Hello, welcome to this week's Monkey Nut Punch podcast. So me and Keith. Welcome.
Hello.
Um, yeah, it's an interesting one this week. We're going to be talking. We're doing our next Star Trek film, which is Star Trek: The Voyage Home, which isn't one of my favourites. I'll be completely honest with you, but you'll hear my opinions and bits on that later on. Keith wants to talk about One Piece on Netflix, which I haven't watched, and I haven't watched the anime, read the manga, or whatever Japanese animation title that's supposed to be there. And we've got that, and we've got a trailer, I think, that we can watch for Bodies, where it's
Yeah.
one body, 3 time zones. So we've got some interesting things to be going through. So let's start off. Let's talk about One Piece, because when you say One Piece, I think bathing suit. Oh, and hello, Biffa.
Hi, buddy. It sounds slightly dirty as well. I kind of enjoyed it. I didn't know a lot about it. It's absolutely huge here. It's everywhere. You see, like One Piece T-shirts. In fact, my wife bought me one. I didn't know what it was. I just like the T-shirt's pretty cool. Straw Hat Gang, and I didn't know anything about it. And I watched a couple of the manga things, and it was all right. But I then started watching other things and forgot about it. Then I saw this live action thing, and I heard about it a few years ago. It was about a few years ago, and then I saw about a year and a half ago, like pictures of things. I'm like, what is this? And it looked like Netflix had spent some money on it, and they have. Having watched it, it's actually one of the most faithful sort of live action remakes of a cartoon that I've seen. There's like scenes where they're almost identical. And what they've done, like converting it to the live action, has been really faithful. But it's 8 hours of mostly fun. Pirates and swashbuckling and a little bit of weird Japanese manga set in this fictitious world, which is mostly ocean with like the strip of land in the middle. And the premise is that, like, 25 years ago, this pirate was caught, and he was the most famous pirate and had the biggest treasure, and he said he hid it somewhere, and you can go and get it. And then the golden age of pirating began, and then you get all these various strange characters thrown in with like this supernatural fruit that if you eat this fruit, it gives you powers. But if you come into contact with seawater, you lose it. More to the point, you don't swim, you sink. And so seawater can be deadly to you. And then it's set around like this character called Monkey Luffy, who's this really kind of wants to be king of the pirates, but in his own way. And he's not bloodthirsty. He's kind of a positive character. And genuinely, it was quite a lot of fun. There are a few things that niggled me. They cast a transgender female, so as in she's transitioned to male. The problem is that I recognize her from something else, and she used to have long blonde hair. And she's now in this part where she's playing a boy, yet her face still looks like a girl, and she's got this deeper voice. So she's blatantly, obviously, taking some kind of hormonal treatment, right? But I'm sorry, it takes you out. It's not like she's even playing a transgender character. She's playing a male character, or he is playing a male character, but it detracts every time for me. And I'm not being transphobic. It detracts. It takes you out because you're going, what your eyes are seeing and what you're hearing don't agree with each other. And that leaves you slightly unsettled when you get that. And that's every time he is on the screen, I get that.
Right, it's like an uncanny valley, but with people.
Yeah. I found every time, I mean, it's not a main character, thankfully. They turn up a fair bit, but they're not a main character. They're not one of the central 5, if you like. But the world that it sets up and the stories that it tells, it's 8-hour origin story. So, but it's genuinely quite good and fun. and it's very comic booky. It's very mangery. I think it's been cast quite well. I think the kid that was playing Monkey Luffy was brilliant, actually. I enjoyed all 5 parts. There's a mixture of actors, of British, Australian, and English actors in there. There's some recognizable faces. Ian McShane narrates the intro, Lovejoy himself. So you get a Lovejoy intro, although he doesn't turn up, except I think he might at some point. But I really liked it. I actually had fun watching it. The music was good. The pirating and the various things was good. It was just quite enjoyable. There wasn't that much wokeness other than this character. There were a couple of moments, but you get that in everything these days. It's almost unavoidable where you go like that. But the only criticism I have is the casting of the character Kobe. I'm sorry, I am not transphobic, but you are limited in what roles you can play. That's the reality of life. And
sorry, sounding very, very transphobic. I'm now on Twitter cancelling you.
Well,
you've been cancelled. It's too late.
Oh well.
Right, bye. Sorry, everybody. Keith was cancelled for being transphobic in a podcast, so just gonna have to stick up with me for the next hour. Sorry, it's a shit joke. Couldn't resist.
It's annoying because, look, it must be difficult for this person, and I'm trying not to be nasty, but when you are watching something, it's like that fucking Harry Potter Legacy game where you've got that barmaid with a blatantly male voice, and it just again, your ears and your eyes don't agree with each other, and it's not a preconception. It is a fact of nature, right? That is kind of, how do I put this? It's instinctive. You don't even think about it. So when you see somebody with a male sounding voice but does look like a girl and has acted as a girl, I don't care whether they claim that they've known since they were 13. They were in something not that long ago where they were very much a female with long blonde hair and very feminine, to suddenly switch like that and still have the same face. You can't just cut your hair short. And, exactly. I mean, I'm going to be attacked. If anybody fucking watches this, somebody, people are going to attack me in the comments for this, but I don't really give a shit. It's a fact of life. It's reality. And
hang on a moment.
There's something about...
Okay, now I've been cancelled for hosting this. Shit. That's a terrible. The podcast listeners are just going to hear me waffle on.
He's taking us off the stream. That's what he's doing for audio listeners only. I don't know. I don't know what the obsession is. That's the bit that gets me at the moment. Is it's there's so many like questions and bits and it's just. It's the new fad, the new craze. I'm desperately trying to predict what the next craze is so I can figure out how to make money off the back end of it. My money's on everyone being obsessed with aliens. Seriously, because it's like kind of, there's aliens. But we couldn't find evidence, which means the government covered it up. So next time you go to use the toilet and there's not enough toilet roll there, aliens. Next time you come out the junction, and cars are not letting you out, that's aliens. Next time you stub your toe on the corner of a coffee table and you scream, or you tread on a upturned British plug, because they're the ones you want to tread on, aliens. Okay, cool. I might give it a watch. It sounds okay. It sounds like it's only got one kind of thing that you've got any kind of a grievance with or take exception to, if that makes any sense. Well, it's like, it's never where you you don't have like superhuman females. There is a female character in it. She is as good as her male counterparts. There is no all females are better. There's no surprise woman in it. I mean, she's a thief. She's quite a talented character. She has quite a tragic background. You understand her background. They develop the character, so it's not just surprise woman. I wouldn't have a problem per se with this character if 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 it was a transgender character, and it's my same problem with that the thing in Hogwarts Legacy. I didn't have a problem with the character. I had a problem with the setting because there's no way in hell you would have had a transgender barmaid like that in the 1800s. But that's another matter. My problem was that most transgender people take freaking hormones, so they sound more feminine or more masculine, and that's exactly what this her name used to be Morgana, and now it's Morgan. So his name is now Morgan. It's just the fact that it's still detracting, and it's done to tick a quota and nothing else. And that's my only real bugbear. They've spent money on this. They spend time developing the world. The characters are kind of positive. It's kind of feel good. There's lots of bad guys. There's some adult related things. It's not really. I was surprised. There's quite a lot of swearing in it and stuff. So it's not for like younger. It kind of has a Goonies-esque feel about it. You know, Goonies was kind of a kids' movie in the 80s, but there was a shitload of swearing in that film. So
oh no, because that's what kids do.
Yeah, and there's a bit, swear. And it was a bit like that in this. There's the 2 episodes in the middle. They could have condensed that down into one. There's 2 episodes that go on a bit too long, so it kind of meanders in the middle a bit, but the first episode really does draw you in, and the final episode is great. So yeah, I kind of enjoyed it, and I thought it was for the most part well cast, mostly unknowns, but there are a few faces in it. Go on, you were going to say.
Yeah, I watched that entire first series of Staged, which is the BBC comedy starring David Tennant and Michael Sheen. I've got all the way through both the first and second series. I'm on the third at the moment, and I just like because there's some Doctor Who references in there, and they get Judi Dench to turn around and says you'll deserve a smack bottom if you're not careful. There's a funny thing with they're talking about an actor who's a pain in the ass, which they don't want to really say no to. You find out it's Samuel L. Jackson. And then Samuel L. Jackson claims not to know Michael Sheen, even though he was in a film where Michael Sheen was being tortured throughout the entire thing, which was I found quite amusing. And you've got lots of kind of throwbacks and stuff, and that was nice. Not very nerdy, but I recommend Keith you watch that. They're little kind of like 17-20 minute episodes, so it's very digestible. It's quite funny watching the 2 of them bounce off each other. And it's weird when he gets a call from someone and he goes, "I need your name," and they go, "I need your name." I go, "It's Michael Sheen," and no, not Martin, Michael Sheen. And then he turns around because he's on a call like we are, and he turns around and goes, "Oh, I'm glad you like Good Omens." And you got David Tennant going, "Yeah, like that." And then there's the argument with him. They had the 2 of them that are arguing over Twilight, Harry Potter, and Doctor Who. And it's like kind of, oh, Twilight made this. He goes, but I was in Harry Potter. He goes, you're only in there for like 2 scenes. He goes, yeah, I know. He goes, but I did more scenes and they cut them out. And it's like kind of, well, you know, I don't usually get cut out scenes like that. So yeah, it's that was well worth a watch. It's funny. There's lots of like nerdy references in there, and I recommend you give it a go, Keith. You'll enjoy it. Stage.
I'm running
out box if you can get hold of that. I think.
I can get that actually. That's a good point. I'm running out of stuff to watch again at the moment. I'm going back through old stuff. I'm running out of stuff to watch again.
Yeah, newer stuff is a lot harder. I'm trying to find all the backlogs of bits. You wanted to look at this trailer called Bodies.
I just thought this looked quite interesting.
Okay, let's go through. Let's play the trailer and we'll pause not to get copyright struck.
You're not the first detective to discover this body. D.I. Hillinghead, 1890. D.S. Whiteman, 1941. D.S. Hassan, 2023. And D.S. Maplewood in 2053.
So we've got the same body turning up across 4 different points in space and time. There's timey-wimey, time-travel-y stuff going on here. Or it's a really elaborate prank sorted out by like a group of some kind of society that's been around for a couple hundred years, like doing this to people.
I'm going to tell you everything. It's going to blow your mind.
It's not a lot, but it piqued
No,
my
but
interest.
It brought across a concept that I don't think I've come across before. So
It caught my interest, and I thought, I thought it was interesting, and yeah, the concept interested me. Whether it turns out to be interesting is another matter. These days, it's kind of potluck, but it piqued my interest. I thought, I like a good murder mystery now and again, and yeah, I thought, this looks interesting, especially the fact that it's also set in the future, which I thought, I like future things as well. So there's a little bit of everything in there, and timey-wimey, possibly timey-wimey stuff.
Timey-wimey stuff. Yeah, it does look like there's going to be some timey-wimey stuff in there, which will be interesting. I think it's the dead body of a time traveler.
Well, it could be. It could be.
Ironically, he's from 2083. Because of the staggering of all the times, he's from 2083, dies, and because due to the experiment, he gets jotted through all these bits.
I mean, it had a couple of interesting actors in there, so the cast seemed interesting. My big problem is it's on Netflix, and most stuff off Netflix is, in recent times hasn't been particularly great. But having said that, it could turn out to be good. I don't know at this point in time. Yeah, I just thought that looked interesting. I thought I'd point it out. Don't know much more about it. There's people sort of chatting about it online, but we'll have to wait for a more full trailer to get a more rounded opinion, I think. But yes, yes. So do I mention the unmentionable this week? Bearing in mind that it is actually topical. So I did watch Ahsoka episode 3, only 30 minutes. Fucking Disney. What are you doing? It has got lower ratings and lower viewers than Andor did. Apparently.
Oh, so we're going to say that my colonoscopy from the beginning of the year.
Well, it's not getting very good.
Under my colonoscopy.
It's not getting very good viewers. I mean, look, I'm not going to lie. When Chopper was on screen, I smiled. We briefly got to see Hera's son. Hera is just, I'm sorry, the more I watch this, the more she is miscast. Her face is just totally wrong. I'm not a big fan of it.
Because I've been watching people criticize Ahsoka terribly. Was there a bit where Ahsoka gets out onto the side of a spaceship and fights some starfighters with a lightsaber?
Yeah.
Oh, fuck me.
Yeah. But then you get the whales, and the whales looked pretty cool. The thing is, right, you introduced me to Rebels, and I'm not going to lie, I loved Rebels. I really, really, really enjoyed Rebels. And I've rewatched it, a couple of times, and I still love Rebels. So I'm not going to lie, there's moments in Ahsoka that I do enjoy. I love seeing Chopper. I like actually kind of understanding what he says, and the fact that there was about thousands of people going to die, and he just didn't give a shit. He's an absolute asshole, and I love that. So I like seeing that. I like, there are moments in it that are interesting, and seeing live action version of that. When Ray, what's his face is on screen, he's great. Ray Stevenson, he's great, and I want to know what is.
That's the one thing I've heard is that everyone likes Ray Stevenson. It's his last bloody TV appearance, isn't it?
I'm looking forward to seeing you know, the what's his face as Thorn. It's interesting they brought the Night Sisters into this, although she hasn't done anything. She hasn't displayed any magic like you do in the game. You get from what's her face in the game, but there is a potential there for Cal Kestis to turn up. There is a tenuous link there, and that would kind of be cool. This would be the show where you could bring him in. I'm going to continue watching it, not because it's any good, but because it does have moments that link back to Rebels, and it's member berries more than anything. And I don't feel that guilty watching it because no one else is watching it. So it's still a fuck you to Disney, because it's not great. And it's a shame because I don't know what's happened to Dave Filoni. I genuinely don't. He made really good Star Wars until pretty much Disney took over by the looks of it. Mandalorian season 3 was fucking abysmal. I don't know what the hell they were thinking. I don't know what the fuck they were thinking with Boba Fett's story. And I don't know what the fuck they're thinking full stop at Disney. But
whammy. Surprise.
Yeah, the space battle was shit. I agree with Biffa. Totally. I'm not saying the show is any good, and I am definitely not recommending this show. It's just, as a Rebels fan, it's kind of cool, but to see moments, Chopper, anytime Chopper's on screen, I love that fucking droid. Yeah, she does. She does. And this is what it is. She's. Yeah, I totally agree with that. I mean, whoever's fucking directing her, I don't know. I mean, she's got more charisma than this.
The director's going, can I have less emotion, please? We can
but Ahsoka was never that. I mean, Ahsoka left the fucking Jedi because they fucked her over. And when you saw her in Rebels, she was more alive. She was more, away. I know at the end of Rebels that she had that thing, but even then she was more. Now she's just like this moody fucking bitch that looks like. I mean,
hang on.
Jesus Christ!
Hang on a second. I have to find something because there was the Alec Guinness deep fake Ahsoka thing, where he's talking about how Luke's dad was shagging her all the time. I have to find it.
She's just, there's just no charisma there. She's permanently in a coma at the moment. There's no. Old Ahsoka was bubbly and fun. Live action Ahsoka is just in a bit. Yeah, but she was more bubbly and fun in the first episode. She turned up in The Mandalorian. She was more alive in that than she is in this. In her own fucking show, she's just like. I mean, she is fucking 50 something. Maybe she's going through the fucking menopause. I don't know. I'm sorry, ladies, but seriously, I mean, this is just. She's in a fucking coma. He's right.
There is a deep fake,
and I love Ahsoka.
Yeah.
Before this, go on.
I need to find this deep fake of the conversation that they put between Luke and. It's so annoying. I can't find it. Luke and Obi-Wan from the original Star Wars, where he was just talking about her running trains on Ahsoka. Oh, sorry. I want something funny because it's.
I think I do.
Right. So my first thing is right. What Star Wars did and what Alien did and what Star Trek doesn't do is that Star Wars and Alien portrayed a world that was dirty and grimy and lived in.
Yes.
Yeah. So it looked like the uniforms had been worn, that everything had been used for a good 10, 20 years, and that all the Ahsoka stuff, from what I've seen, looks clean like Star Trek does. But Star Wars isn't Star Trek.
It's only just post Empire. It should be dirty still. It should, that ship that Ray Stevenson's attacks in the first episode, that should be a little bit, bashed up. Not clean white lines. It shouldn't be like the Naboo, pre-Empire. The Empire has had its effect.
even that felt more lived in, because you always got the impression that
Yeah.
someone was going around polishing all the bloody surfaces, which the probably set crew were doing. But it's just, oh my god, it's just garbage. I
It,
can't bring myself to watch
it's
it, but
no,
yeah.
don't, because it's too focused on whamming. I mean, there's definitely this whamming push here where every character of any kind of significance has to be a whammon, with the exception of Ray. And even then, he's barely in it at the moment. Where it's focusing on Sabine and Ahsoka's relationship, which was never really a thing in Rebels. It's like, where's Thorne? Where the fuck is he? We're 3 episodes in and we still haven't seen him.
He's the end bit. He is the end.
Yeah, it's
bit.
just going to be like the last fucking episode. No, we need more than that. Look, Dave Filoni wrote Rebels. It has potential to get better, but I don't think it will, because now that What's-Her-Face is the fucking boss, she's just all over this. Her fingers are just all over this. The Force is female bullshit. I'm just... It's things like this that make me so fucking fed up of Hollywood. Stay on strike. Fuck yourself,
Right.
Yeah.
Biff has been good enough to send me this clip, so I'm going to send it to you. I don't know if you've seen it, but I listened to it.
I think I
and
know
it was
what you were talking about.
Right, so give me a second. Where is it? Screen share, there we are. Bump, 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 bump.
Have we got it?
Here we go. Da, da. Here we go. It's good for a laugh. Well, the first 30 seconds are definitely good for a
Luke,
laugh.
did I ever tell you about Ahsoka Tano? She was your father's exotic teenage alien apprentice, a fine piece of jailbait from a more civilized age. She had the tightest body and the perkiest little breasts in the galaxy, barely legal in most systems. Anakin and I used to double team her at the end of every successful campaign during the Clone Wars, and once in a while we'd even have the entire 500 first run a train over her, part of official Jedi training, of course. In time, she learned how to handle a meat saber better than anyone in the Jedi Temple. She wore a miniskirt every day, so we told her there were no panties in space. And since she was constantly doing acrobatics, you'd get a glimpse of her orange pussy mid-fight as she'd do while slicing a B-2 super battle droid in half. It was surreal. We taught her to grip her weapon backwards like a dildo. She constantly got captured by pirates and slavers almost every other day. It was ridiculous, like a constant porno loop. You have no idea. And she was a good friend.
Why didn't you...
Right, I'll leave it there. That clip there is probably more entertaining than the entire Ahsoka Katan series.
Oh, so
You know
far,
that,
yeah.
don't you?
Yeah. And
Just
I
hearing
seriously,
from
they need to.
Anakin's voice.
They need to fire. They need to fire the casting director of this, because it's just, yeah. Anyway, it wasn't particularly good. Unless you are a Rebels fan, unless you really enjoyed Rebels, don't bother. In fact, don't bother with Disney Plus. Tell me if I'd like to ask: is there anybody out there actually watching anything on Disney Plus at the moment and they're enjoying? The only thing that is worth it, and I have to say, even this hasn't been as good as the first 2 seasons, but my dad is absolutely obsessed with it, and I understand why, because it is actually quite good. Which is Only Murderers in the Building. That's the only fucking thing that I watch on Disney Plus at the moment, which I kind of enjoy, which is nothing to do with this podcast, but it's just kind of harmless fun with Steve Martin. It's quite funny. But I don't think it has anything else on Disney Plus. I mean, unsurprisingly, Ironheart, Echo, and Daredevil have all been delayed this week. Don't even bother. Snow White has been delayed. Possibly they've actually finally woken up and fired that silly little cow.
I've come up with a solution for Disney and their Pixar problem. Do you know what you do? Is you go, hey Pixar, remake Snow White completely digital with your lovely computer graphics and everything like that. Keep the music in and everything. Pretty much keep it the way it is. Recast some of the voices, blah blah blah, and just try and make it as neat and tidy, and then do it again. There's rumors. One of my favorite Disney films is Robin Hood.
Yes, the
Fox.
cartoon.
It's
Yes, I
absolutely
loved
great.
it.
I love that as a kid.
Yeah.
I think I wore it at the
Same.
VHS during Easter because I
Same.
enjoyed that so much as a kid. They're recasting it, and
They're not going to remake it. I can almost tell you that. There's another lawsuit being brought against them this week by investors because another one, and this is I think third or fourth, accusing Disney of massaging figures. If any
it's
of
not
them
massaging
win,
figures, Keith. It's Disney magic.
if
Just
any of
doesn't
them win,
magically give you the wrong figures.
if any of them win, then a criminal case can be brought against. Well, if it's proven that Iger is involved in this. But what Disney have got to do is they've got to do what Warner Brothers did. You've got to clean house. You've got to clean the mouse at the House of Mouse. You've got to get rid of all the top people. You've got to get rid of Feige now. You've got to get rid of fucking Kathleen Kennedy, and you've got to get rid of Iger, and you've got to get rid of the person that was fucking head of Pixar as well. Bring back what's his face, who actually made decent movies. I'm sure he would if he threw gazillion dollars at him. You can get over the riot strike, which ain't fucking showing any signs of stopping at the moment. I think I said last week, the only thing that bothers me about this right now, about this riot strike, is that I don't get to see June Part 2.
Yeah.
Robin Hood. Yeah, I don't think that's going to happen. I mean, they've delayed Snow White. I'd be surprised if they make it, and if they do make it, it's going to lose money. I mean, you can see that on social media. It's funny now that I spot these things. There's been a load of I don't know what's going on with Facebook, and I seriously, if it wasn't my primary source of communication with so many people, I would have got rid of my profile by now. But every time I comment on one thing, I get 1,000 stories, right? There's been 1,000 fucking stories this week, and they all the same headline. They're blatantly paid for by Disney, right? Promoting the Katniss, what's its face, the Hunger Games prequel. Because guess who's in that film? It's Rachel Ziegler, whatever her fucking name is. The Snow White. And it's all positive. Oh, she's a different kind of, bad. And it's all this positive. It's like, this isn't going to work. I'm making a point every time I see one. This is not going to work. This is a shield piece of fucking thing paid for by Disney. Wake up, people. This is a spoilt little cow, right? Who spouts toxic. I'm sorry, I'm going to use that word because her fucking language is toxic. Anybody who dares to comment about pronouns, she attacks with vile hatred, right? As soon as her fucking shit comes out and everybody turns on her, oh, be kind to everyone. Be kind to everyone. Oh, fuck off. You spoiled, entitled brat. I hope her career is ruined. I really do. People like this make me sick.
It probably won't be because she's towing the line, if that makes any sense.
Disney can't carry on now. I mean, Disney cannot carry on. They have had every one of their films has been a flop. They can massage it any way they fucking like. It's in the public now. The public are going, show me one fucking movie that's been a thing. Even Iger's had to come out and say Indiana Jones didn't perform well. Have they had a single fucking movie this year that's performed well? No. All of their fucking Disney Plus series that they've had out this year have all been flops. The Mandalorian season 3, even the fucking shill press couldn't say anything good about it. No one is watching Ahsoka, and we know about it. This is fucking Star Wars. They're crown jewel, and no one's watching it. Disney are fucked, and I don't care.
Let's just talk about something nice. I'm going to put a little break in it for. Let's talk about Star Trek. Come on.
I do like that music. I do.
It is. Yes. Yeah, it is. It does kind of spell Star Trek. So Voyage Home, Star Trek: The Voyage Home, the least Star Trek film out of all the original Star Trek. I think maybe all the Star Trek films. So it's not. It doesn't feel at all like Star Trek. It I don't know. It felt like, how can I put it? It felt like a film designed for home video release. That's the best way of describing it. Something to be rewatched with product placement, say for like the yellow pages. That's one thing that stuck out in my head, along with the punk rocker on the punk on the bus. Do you know who the punk on the bus was?
Yes, because he came back in Picard season 2. The exact same actor.
He was an executive producer on it.
Yes, I knew this. And he wrote the song. He is the actual one singing that song.
Yeah.
And he wrote the song for Picard season 2. The only good thing about Picard season 2 was that little cameo. And I remember talking about it at the time, going, I loved that. I don't love Picard season 2, except the first episode was quite good. And then the rest was shit. And I kind of enjoyed that moment as a callback to Star Trek 4. Look, I'm going to break the mold here. I don't dislike it as much as you guys. I know what you're saying, that it's the most unlike because it doesn't have the Enterprise. Right, the problem is the Enterprise is missing.
No, Keith, we're going to go.
Yeah, I'm disagreeing. No, none of this just no Keith bullshit.
Just no Keith. All right. So first things first. Yeah, it starts off. It pretty much picks up at the end of the search for Spock. Spock's had his brain popped back into his skull. He's going through some questions. How do you feel? Well, you're off human. You should feel something. Blah blah blah. Anyway, they were like, kind of, we've got to go back to Starfleet. We're in the shit because we stole the Enterprise and destroyed a rather expensive piece of hardware at the same time too. We have got this very nice new Klingon bird of prey, but I don't think it's going to be enough to cover the expenses, if you know what I mean. So if you want to come back, then come back. Savick, chicken's out.
Yeah, she kind of does.
She bottles it. No, I'm staying here. I'm not fucking getting in trouble. Oh, no. It's more wise that I stay here on Vulcan, where no legal ramifications can happen. Which I found quite amusing. Somehow, Spock's dad, Savick? No, Savick.
Savick.
Is it Savick?
Yeah.
Savick.
Yeah.
Anyway, he manages to get back to Earth before they do, which I find amazing. Yeah. So
he left earlier and he was on a superior Vulcan ship, don't forget. Birds of prey were limited by their warp speed.
Really? So they couldn't go warp 9.6?
No, I do believe that Vulcan ships were far superior.
Hang on. So you're telling me that the bird of prey couldn't do a 9.6?
It does, though.
Because that's one of our problems.
Yeah, I know it does. Problems. But it shouldn't be able to. In theory, Sarek.
Thank you very much. Savick, bollocks. I needed that. Colourful metaphors.
Look, it doesn't. Yeah, you're right. But anyway, I like what they call it.
Because this whole film felt like kind of, because I remember being a kid during the 80s and they were all talking about whale hunting and all that stuff, and they were banning it, and I knew the Norwegians and the Japanese were doing it, which also I don't understand, because there shouldn't be any Norwegians up near Alaska, and it'd be quite tough for Japanese people to get up near Alaska towards the end, but that's something else. So they get back to Earth. You've got this big black space dildo and it's on vibrate, and the vibrate is shutting every bit of Starfleet equipment down.
Do you know what it always reminded me of? The texture of that always looked like the fucking dog meat that my parents used to feed the dogs when they used to buy canned dog meat. It did. It always reminded me of that kind of weird texture. It looked like a frying can of dog meat with a fucking weird brain ball that comes out of it.
So they've got this big space dildo that wants to talk to whales turning up. Yeah, and it's causing all kind of merry havoc. I like the way it's shutting the ships down. He had like the whatever it was, you just saw him shut it down and everything, and he got to Earth. And right, so let me get this straight. You've got whale songs, right? So you've got a Klingon database that contains whale songs. A Klingon database, not a Federation database. Yeah.
Did they not mention that they got updated? Did they not mention it got updated
it was
somewhere
it was
from
a
Vulcan?
Klingon database.
Well,
so they had the Klingon database in the system. It had the whale songs on, so they had enough to identify it was whale songs. No one on Earth picked up on that. and at the same time too, you've got the universal translator, which is like this super mathematical algorithm that can pretty much do everything apart from understand what Darmok and Chala means over the fucking rainbow. Um, and they couldn't do it with whale songs. And then they then went, okay, we'll do a time warp, and it was like
They did that
was
once
quite
before.
difficult.
They did that in the
No,
original series. Did they not
I
do a
know they
time
did that in
warp
the
in the
original
original
series.
series?
That was, I think that was the Gary Seven episode.
Could have been. It was one of the. They went back in time more than once, but you might be right.
Yeah, but it was always through some alien device or something. Yeah. So that they then go back in time. They have weird, fucked up dreams, which is fine. Bit of CGI with the faces going across the screen. Yeah, that's fine. I like that. Yeah. I really would. Part of me was like thinking Shatner's going to be like naked on the other side. It's just like kind of girdle. You can see my girdle. And then they get to Earth and they find out that the whale song's coming from the I can't remember the whatever is it institute, and it's like weird because it's like you should hear the whole planet full of whale songs, but you can only hear it in San Francisco. It's loads of humpback whales all over the place, which they could have got. They could have just sucked them up. Just a couple of dead whales there.
Yeah, but I mean, okay, look, you can pull the script apart, and you're partly right, but I mean that was there to tell a story. I mean, I don't think this is the worst one. I think Star Trek V with the search for God is still a bit.
It's more Star Trek-y than this.
Yeah, because it's got the Enterprise in it, and the whole point
No,
of
it doesn't
Star
need to have
Trek.
the Enterprise in it.
I think it does.
To be spacey.
I think that
Star
one of the
Trek
biggest
is
missing things was you established this last week when you said that the Enterprise is a character, and actually it's an essential character, and because you didn't have the Enterprise, and it was the only time you ever really saw Star Trek without the Enterprise up until this point. You know, we hadn't had Voyager, Deep Space Nine, or even the next gen. Next gen launched. No, 1987. So the next gen launched the year after this film, and it never. You never had that, but there are moments in it. I mean, you know, Biff was putting it. Can you actually? You're missing one thing. It's can you direct me to the nuclear vessels in a Russian accent, which was fucking brilliant.
I was gonna get to that.
And it's a moment. It's funny because the TV version, which we saw for years, right, was actually cut. Though it was cut down in length, and there was a lot of things that they cut out of the TV version that we always saw on the British TV, right? Like the bit where McCoy heals somebody because they're about to fucking operate on her, and then there's another and he just gives her a pill.
TV version,
not for years. It wasn't. No, it wasn't. Because I remember being surprised when I rented it once on video and going, that was never in the version that I'd seen on TV for years. It wasn't. When I don't know why they used to do that in the 80s and early 90s, especially ITV. Right, who had kind of all the Star Trek movies. They used to do that a lot, cut down movies because of ad breaks, and they had to fit it into 2 hours and shit like that. I think was the thing. So like scenes like that,
shit like that was how they described it to the execs on the board.
Scenes like that were cut, and I love the McCoy healing. You know, what are they doing to you, barbarians? It just hands her a pill that fucking like cures cancer. And I love that. And I liked Spock mind melding with a whale, even though it was stupid. And there's another thing here. The whole scene with Scotty, where he's the professor going into thing, is like computer. I love that.
Right,
that still makes me giggle.
So yeah, my problem with that is that computer doesn't work that quickly. I've used those Macs.
Oh God, no! Yeah, how he did that? It was a bloody Mac. And no, it wasn't that quick. But
product placement.
Biffa here is absolutely right. Last year, I believe, they have actually created transparent aluminum.
Hang on a second. I can make transparent aluminum. You can make transparent aluminum. It's really easy. Do you know how to do it?
What?
You just literally get the bottom of a Coke can and just heat it up, and you heat it up just enough so it goes thin enough, it becomes transparent. I knew that back in the bloody late 90s. People these days don't know anything. Make transparent aluminum. Try it. Get like a what do you call it? A thing for doing creme brulees. I'm saying everyone's got a creme brulee. A creme brulee. Okay. Anyway, going back, you've got the guys and they've got their little separate mission. So Kirk and Spock are going after the whales. What do you call it? Chekhov and Uhura are going after the
energy,
excited photons for the core. Scotty's going after transparent aluminum
with McCoy.
With McCoy. What's bloody Sulu doing?
Sulu was still looking for the transport because Sulu had to steal the helicopter in order to load all the fucking shit into the thing. And I love how they just cloak a ship and land it in a city park like no one's going to walk their dog. Obviously, in San Francisco, there's no dog walkers, and there's a big sign saying "Don't walk on the grass in the public park." I mean, if we're going to pick the script apart, they parked a fucking spaceship, right? An alien spaceship. It's not even a human spaceship, cloaked, invisible in a fucking park. A public park in the middle of San Francisco. It's like, why didn't they beam down? Why didn't they? They had the beam. Why didn't they fucking cloak the damn thing in space and beam down? I mean, he's got a goddamn autopilot.
Yeah. Well, the what do you call it? The bird of prey was shagged, wasn't it? Scotty was like, it's shagged. So yeah, it's
yeah.
Right. So when I was training to be a scientist, which I never finished off, my professor, because it was a professor, ironically in chemistry, not physics, and he was teaching me physics, said that you can get pretty much any material if you get any metal material, if you get it thin enough, you can see through it. It becomes transparent. So it's not quite transparent aluminum like you understand it, but it's making aluminium, aluminium see-through.
I know what Biff was referring to because I read it on, I think it was on the BBC News website, and they referenced Star Trek 4. But you're right. So going back to the film, they all go off in their various teams. Kirk, because Kirk has to shag everything everywhere, immediately meets a fine-looking young lady who, just conveniently happens to have a couple of whales. But there's the whole bus journey where we talk about the punk rocker journey. So, but I like that bit where Spock is talking to him about getting the whales, and Kirk turns around and goes, well, we can go here. We can get these whales, and they're called, George and Gracie. So how do you know?
No, I like that because he's on the map and it's going well using the relative position of the signal. Goes, we know that the strength comes from here, and we then triangulate using these points and that. And he just turns around and looks at the bus. Because how about George and Gracie at the Cian or whatever it was, Aqua Centre or something? Because how do you know that? Just a feeling. And then they get on the bus. They don't need to pay. It's been exact change only. So he then buggers off because they're confused by the whole thing. It's not terrible, but it's not Star Trek. That's how I see it.
I mean, character-wise, it has moments. I mean, Chekhov's and Uhura's like little journey where they go off after the nuclear vessels. Excuse me, can you direct me to the nuclear vessels? Which I love. And then he actually somehow manages to break on there, get the power stuff, but then, gets fucked up on the way. So he's then taken to hospital, at which point McCoy and Kirk and Spock have to go on a rescue mission to save him, which then you get the whole McCoy in the hospital thing, calling them all sorts of names because they're cutting them up. They rescue Chekhov and save Chekhov. Then you get Scotty and McCoy's visits to the manufacturer where he does the whole transparent aluminum thing, and the computer, the way he just types on the keyboard, and all of a sudden he gets all that stuff, which was totally unbelievable. If you know anything about IT, and an Apple fucking 2 was never that fast. So, but yeah, you get
Macintosh.
was it? Oh, it was the first Mac, wasn't it? Yeah, you're right. Sorry, it was. It was the first Mac. And then you get Sulu sort of like, chatting up, why, hello there. At the time, no one knew he was gay, but of course, probably, he was coming on to that army guy. Anyway, we won't know what he did to get the helicopter. We won't know. We were in the Navy.
Non-gay people in the Navy are the Marines.
Well, not if you watch that 1980s Billy Connolly thing. Oh no, that was in the Brownies. He took the piss out in the Brownies. Have you never seen Billy Connolly's in the Brownies?
No, I've not. Or hang on a second.
God, it was genius. Right, look up Billy Connolly in the Brownies. Right, it was a piss take. Not in the Navy. It was a piss take of in the Navy, but it was so innuendo in there. We'll bend over to accommodate you in the Brownies. It's Billy Connolly when he was at his hairiest in a Brownies costume. It's fucking brilliant. But yeah, so they, everything comes together basically. But lo and behold, because you have to have some suspense here, the whales are inadvertently released, and they have to go after the whales, who just so conveniently managed to get all halfway across the Atlantic Ocean overnight.
Hang on a second. No. I had that problem,
Pacific Ocean
too, and there was a throwaway line of dialogue.
They
will be loaded into a special 737 and flown to Alaska. Because
right.
I was in the same place as you. Because part of me was like, how the fuck did they get over to Norway? And they didn't get to Norway; they got to Alaska. But the Norwegians got to Alaska. I was like, well, the Japanese would be there first, but okay, fair enough.
But anyway, so we then get the whole bird of prey taking on a whaling ship, which was kind of funny. And actually it looked kind of cool. I love that scene. Actually, it did look cool. Anyway,
absolutely fucking cool.
Then we get there be whales aboard, Captain from Scotty's line, which is great. And they come back and just in time they crash into San Francisco Bay because obviously they lose power to the weird dog meat flying probe thing.
Black dildo. Alien
black dildo, whatever you want to call it.
Starfleet space.
And the whales get out. And then the whales talk to the probe. Probe fucks off. Everything's all right. Everyone's saved. And then you get the whole sort of scene where Kirk's got to answer for all his crimes, and there's the tribunal bit, and all of the crimes are set apart. By the way, we should mention that Dr. Lady, Kirk's bit on the side, who we never see again, by the way. She came back with them because she had nothing. She wanted to look after her whales. So she came back with them. So she's now in the 23rd century. Anyway, they're all at the tribunal, and all but one fucking crime charge is dropped, and that was for Kirk disobeying orders, and he is, taken back down to be a captain again and put on a starship. And they go, right, you've got a starship.
Yeah, okay, so what was the last JJ one?
Star Trek Into Darkness.
Star Trek film. Not Into Darkness. It was
Beyond.
Kelvin timeline one.
Star Trek Beyond. Yeah.
Okay, so Star Trek Beyond, they were building the Yorktown, and they wound up converting it into the Enterprise. Yeah.
Well, no, the Yorktown was the bloody starbase in this. They were building another ship. You're right.
But everyone was telling me, and because being a nerd, and it's a nerd, yeah. That the Enterprise in the original series was supposed to be the Yorktown.
This was something that came online, and I've never been able to confirm that. I don't think Trek has ever officially confirmed that. But in the Kelvin timeline, the Yorktown is the starbase.
Yeah. Even though the Yorktown was notoriously...
Which was a nod to this thing on the internet. But anyway, yeah, so they fly into the thing, and they don't know what ship they're about to get on, and they see the Excelsior, and Scott is like, I don't want that, and then hiding behind the Excelsior is the Enterprise A, and we get this amazing bridge, and Kirk goes, let's see what she can do, and it goes boom. Now, a couple of interesting things here. That bridge set wasn't used in the next one. They had to rebuild it. And this film also marks the appearance of Admiral Cartwright, who turns up again in Star Trek 6 as one of the bad guys, along with Odo. The actor that played Odo is also in Star Trek 6. Yes, he's in Star Trek 6 as one of the admirals. But Cartwright, the actor that played him, then comes back in DS9 and plays Sisko's father. But he was arrested in Star Trek 6 as one of the conspirators.
I know who you're talking about. So this is Sisko's father. I know.
But he was played Admiral Cartwright in this. Although I don't think he's ever called Cartwright in Star Trek 4. He isn't. I don't know. I have to go back and read that. And the Klingon ambassador also turns up. He turns up again. It's not just Star Trek 4. He turns up again, and I can't remember where he turns up again.
It was in V5. He was the replacement for the guy Droll on the
Yes, you're right.
3. He also played in the remake of the Munsters. He played Herman Munster, and some other bits too. But my brain can't recall all that.
Yeah, but I think he was in another movie. I don't think it was just Star Trek 4.
Yeah, he was. He was definitely more Klingons in. I'm sure he was in Deep Space Nine and in Enterprise.
I'm damnably sure he turns up in Star Trek 6.
All right, while Keith's looking for that, right? So I've just found a video on how to make transparent aluminum online. I'll turn the volume off here. So literally, it's like kind of okay. So there's some holes. Right. So all you do. Hang on. He's using the wrong kind of thing. It needs to be a creme brulee torch. You heat it up so it goes thin enough so you can see through it. Now I've done it with a can, and it got better result than matey here. But if you go through it, you can see that it's all, the more it's going, the thinner it's going because of the heat, the more transparent it's becoming, and then kind of get back here. So
yeah, he's in Star Trek 6. I thought he was. I thought. Yeah.
There you go.
Well, it's not transparent, isn't it?
No. Yeah, the better you look, you can see through it. It's just the quality.
No, you're not wrong.
Working.
You're not wrong. You're not wrong.
There you go. Sorry, I could make transparent room back in the 90s. Fuck you, Sky.
I don't think Star Trek 4 was as bad. I don't dislike it, but I kind of agree that it's not a Star Trek film. There is something missing, and I think it's the Enterprise.
It's very VHS.
Which you don't actually get. Yeah, I'll give you that. It's not a cinematic movie like the others are. I'm looking forward. I'm going to watch Star Trek 5. We've got to cover next week. Then we're going to do Undiscovered Country, which I love. So I'm looking forward to that one. We've got Star Trek 5 to do first.
Did you find matey?
Did I?
Did you find matey?
Did I?
The guy,
yeah. I found out what I knew. It wasn't the only film he was in, and I was trying to remember. I'm sure he was in Undiscovered Country, which he was. He was only in 2 Trek movies, but he was in Undiscovered. John Schuck, SCHUCK.
Shuck.
Born in 1940. Fucking hell, he's 83. Jesus.
Because the next film criminally underuses the actor David Warner in the next one, who's prime for these sort of things. But then again, he then gets reused in Undiscovered Country as
you're right. You're right though. He's as the Klingon ambassador. He was only in thing, but he turned up in a DS9 episode as a Cardassian. Some random alien character in Voyager, and he played another Klingon in Enterprise.
Yeah. And
now I remember that Klingon, and I've been for years bugging me where is it? It's the same goddamn actor now. Oh, fucking hell! Now I'm glad we did this, because I remember that bloody Klingon. There was something familiar about him, and I could never put my bloody finger on it. It's the same fucking actor. But this is the case with Star Trek. So many actors have played multiple roles. I mean, bloody the actor that played Quark played another Ferengi in Next Gen before he was on DS9. It's the case with so many things.
Well, if you get caked under a couple of pounds of thingy, it'll be quite good. So hang on a second. I'm trying to hold back 6,000 cubic waters with your transparent aluminum. Hey, no. I didn't say that it was structurally sound. I just said I could make aluminium transparent. That's what I was saying. Yeah. I could make aluminium transparent. That's what I was.
How to Be a Stupid Gamer. That was it. Dialysis pills. That was it. Thank you. Couldn't remember. It was a couple of weeks ago that I watched Star Trek 4. But yes. So next week we will do Star Trek 5 then.
Yes.
Yes.
We will do...
You're going to really make me do all the next gen films. Are you really going to make me do Generations?
Yes. I am. Right, hang on a second. The Kirk thing could easily be resolved by just having him disappear. That's all you had to do. Just have him disappear. And then he's out there somewhere. He's not dead yet. There's another chance that we'll come across him.
Well, look. Terry Matalis, rather cleverly in Picard season 3, kind of revitalized the debate, should I say, or reignited the debate. And we need a legacy. Fuck me. Paramount, when this writer strike is over, if you do not make fucking Legacy, seriously, you deserve to go out of business. I mean this. You deserve to go out of goddamn business. I'm fed up of arguing with this with those dipsticks online that go, "Oh, Strange New Worlds is so much better." No, it's fucking not. The figures say it.
No, it's just crap. We all know it's crap. You know it's crap. Don't defend it.
They keep going, yeah, but it was in the ratings. No, the only episode that got into the ratings, and it was not the Nielsen ratings, was the fucking musical episode. A fucking musical episode.
Right, hang on a second. We're not going to skip 5. Keith needs to be punished. He's made me watch some shit. Now it's my turn.
I did not make you watch the musical episode. I mean, if you're going to make me watch Generations and all those fucking films, I think you should watch the musical episode Strange New Worlds.
Generations in comparison to Discovery and Strange New World, a fucking masterpiece.
I think you should watch Strange New World and Anson Mount's terrible singing.
No, I'm not. I respect my mental health better. That's like £600 worth of, intervention from psychiatrists to get that problem fixed. But no, trust me, you're gonna be fine with, because there's not some. Generations isn't that bad. It's what they did to Kirk, which was the bloody bad bit. Yeah, that bugs me. You don't love Resurrection. That's a wind up if I've ever heard a wind up from anyone.
Actually, there are a couple of cool moments in Resurrection. I still love, even though it's completely crap, I still love it. When Riker goes like, "Bring up manual control," and he's standing on the bridge with the joystick. Come on, we haven't all dreamed of that. Fuck off, we've all dreamed of that.
Hold on. I always imagined that he'd have to put like a couple of quarters in there to keep the thing going.
But the really funny thing was that the joystick on that, right, was a black joystick with the red fucking trigger button. It looked exactly, funny enough, and perhaps you're listening to this, exactly like the joystick my dad bought from the Amstrad. Coolest computer in the world. See, the joystick on that Amstrad, right, is the same as the Enterprise E, the coolest Enterprise.
I'm sure it was a quick fire one.
It was a black one, and it had a red trigger, and it always reminded me, because when you saw that on in Insurrection or Resurrection, it was Insurrection, not Resurrection, Insurrection.
Might be talking about Alien Resurrection.
But look, I like Star Trek Nemesis more than a lot of people do. I don't think it's the greatest movie, but I like it a bit more than a lot of people do, because Tom Hardy was kind of cool in that. But I still can't get over Tom Hardy's this dweeby little dude in that, right? And then the next time you see him, he's fucking mashed up, built like a brick shithead.
Yes. Sorry, hang on a second. I'm just trying to find. This is the one I had. It's not the same one. It reminds me of this one. It's not the same one, because I'll get nerd things. So we're all allowed to disagree. So all right. So that's.
I'm only winding him up. It's only because I had an Amstrad. My mate had an
There you
Amiga.
go.
Well, it was different. Yeah, it did look a bit like that. It did look a bit
Yes.
like that. Yeah, yeah, it did. Except the bottom was all black.
Oh, I get you. I get you.
She wasn't bad.
No, I wouldn't. If I was Picard, I wouldn't kick her out of bed. She was a couple hundred years old, though.
She was Gilfy, but
Gilfy. Good, Gilfy. That's how
no, she wasn't that bad.
That was the first bit of electronics I ever repaired. The switches went on that.
Yeah, I mean, look. I mean, I still like Nemesis for the fucking whole sort of Mad Max scene as well. I kind of still love that Mad Max scene in Star Trek, even though it's completely. I loved it because it was funny. Anyhow, right? I think we've filled an hour. Yeah, I will go and do my homework and watch Star Trek 5 this week. Yeah.
Star Trek 5 is on Uhura's dancing.
Yeah. Okay. I'll hang on. Yeah, I ain't gonna lie. Right, when I first saw that, it was what 92. Probably the first time I remember feeling something as a young boy growing up. So I know what you mean.
Right, what got me? Hang on a second. Right, when you watch it, there's a bit where they get into the bar on the alien planet where Cybok is, yeah, and he gets Kirk gets attacked by a tiger lady, and he gets a tiger lady and he throws her onto the pool table, which just happens to have water in the pool table, which I always thought was like a really shit joke. Just keep an eye out for that when you watch it.
I will download it.
But we all know that we all hang on a second. That's one thing we mustn't forget when we get to the end of doing the Star Trek films, that we have to go back and go through the top 10 totty of Star Trek TV and films. Okay, so
if we're doing films, see, Kim Cattrall was in Star Trek 6, and that was when she
had her sideburns shaved. It was weird as fuck.
Oh, I know.
She had no. They just cut it off straight to the. She should have been Savick. They should have made her Savick because she's not Savick in that one. It would have made sense that you had that character continue through. And they changed the actress several times. Just recast. That's not an issue. But yeah, it's going to be interesting. Who's hotter?
Yep. Yep.
Right, hang on a second.
He's talking about the Hura scene. What's hotter? Hura dancing on the three-bodied chick from 2. What? I can't see that in the comments. It was kind of hot. It's sort of, toss up for me. Rachel Nichols playing the Green Lady in Star Trek 1.
Oh, she'll go on the list. Green Lady from Star Trek 1. There's Famke Janssen, who was in Trekkie, Next Generations. And then there was some other. There's other totty. Lots of totty.
Yeah. All righty. Well, thanks for watching.
Thanks for watching.
Thanks to everybody in the chat as always. Chuck hasn't been in the chat this week because he's on a plane.
It's in Iceland. We're not talking about the shop in the British High Street. It's gone
he bought a hot dog in Reykjavik, and I was trying to work out an Iceland joke. They realised that he wouldn't get it. But yes. Anyway, thanks for watching, and I'll see you next week. I'm going to say bye-bye. Say bye again.
You'll see him next week. I'm not here next week because Keith has got rid of me. So
you're right. See you next week, guys. Bye.
Bye.